Hello, this is your Gambit here with a new video. In this video I'm going to be going over the event week for this week in Grand Theft Auto Online. And yeah, starting off for the first few seconds, there was a little look at the main menu currently in the 9th generation version of the game. And then right now I'm going over the huge new addition for the event week. And technically the HSW Principe Deveste 8 was already released, but just for GTA Plus people. But yeah, in the first section of gameplay there, I showed off the HSW upgrade. It's $1,100,000 for the Principe Deveste 8 HSW. And then I showed the couple spoilers and what the couple typical liveries look like. And in terms of performance, it's the fourth best vehicle for lap time and top speed apparently in general for the HSW class altogether. And then particularly for supercars, it's a fourth place lap time, which does make it the worst HSW supercar in terms of a lap time situation. And then top speed, it is actually the best of the HSW supercars in that regard. But again, in terms of all the HSW vehicles, it's the fourth best top speed. Apparently the sport HSW vehicles and then the motorcycle and the Hocktail Drag have better top speed still. So it seems it's a pretty okay pickup, but not really much of the greatest vehicle per se. And credit for that information goes to Brovy1322. His spreadsheet and his video on the Principe Deveste 8 HSW will be in the description. Onto modes that are being brought back for the event week here, and I believe for the next entire month, I believe they typically do. There is the adversary modes: extraction, land grab, cross the line, and then there's also a versus mode called road game that's being brought back from the vault for a limited time only. And quite frankly, if there's one I do not necessarily recommend, it would probably be extraction, because there's technically a permanent extraction map in the game with the diamond extraction. The extraction map in the Diamond Casino, that one's more of a permanent one. That one's particularly for the exterior maps in terms of extraction. So if there's one that I do not recommend, it would probably be extraction. And yeah, none of those are really going to be that significant for making money, to be completely honest. Plus, none of those are currently on a money opportunity and just being brought back currently. Onto the triple money on the associate and bodyguard salaries, as well as a money bonus thing that can be obtained, a one-time $250,000. The associate bodyguard money is normally $5,000 to $10,000, and I believe it increases over time as you spend more time with your CEO and whatnot. So on triple, it should start at $15,000, and then at the end, if you max out that triple money, I believe it gets to at most $30,000 that you obtain every once in a while, basically while you're part of the CEO and whatnot. And then for a $250,000 money bonus there, you get that through a gun running cell mission, a management mission, biker cell mission. And I think it's supposed to mention special cargo cell mission as well, but for some reason on the wording there it doesn't mention it, but I believe special cargo does count as well, and I think that is special cargo warehouse in the image there. Onto triple money and RPMO operation missions. Quite frankly, I do not really feel these are really all that worth doing even on triple money RP, unless you need to go for any of the gun running vehicle trade prices that can be unlocked through these said mobile operations, because they're basically reskinned contact missions in terms of the payout and whatnot. So I assume that means on the high end you can probably get around $50,000 to $60,000. And that's if you spend the maximum amount of time on these missions and whatnot, which obviously I would not recommend, because it would be 15 16 minutes. So obviously I would definitely only do it for the certain trade prices and whatnot. Besides for that, not really all that worth it. Onto 2 times money in RP on VIP and MC work and challenges. Quite frankly, for the MC, I just would not recommend much of anything with the MC really, because the selection is way more limited in my opinion for the MC stuff than the VIP. So you definitely have a lot more variety and whatnot. So I definitely just recommend staying with the VIP. But yeah, some of the ones on there are definitely some of the better ones, if I recall, for the MC, Joust, and then Criminal Mischief, especially in that one, I think, which that one there is a MC challenge, whereas Joust is a MC work. Problem with MC work is apparently pretty much all of them require like people outside of your MC, or at least like one other associate. Whereas VIP work is ones that you can literally do by yourself without an associate or without like a rival like CEO and whatnot. But yeah, challenges obviously those require at least one associate. But yeah, for the most part, for my advice, I'll be sticking to the VIP work for the strategies and whatnot. But yeah. For some VIP works I recommend Hostile Takeover. It's going to be one of the like lower paying ones I recommend, but Hostile Takeover, you can at least choose the location and whatnot. Then a better couple are definitely Sightseer and Headhunter, because those only have like 5 to 10 minute like cooldowns and whatnot. And they're definitely some of the most like average paying like VIP work as well. And for some vehicular like VIP works and whatnot, I recommend Fortified. You do have to wait like a guaranteed like 10 minutes. And that one I recommend going into like the storm drain like tunnels and whatnot. Whether you're invite only, so you don't have to deal with like the AIs, or especially in like a public lobby. And yeah, that's the thing, at least for VIP work and probably MC work, you can probably do this in like invite only, so as long as you have like the requirements. So very good money opportunities here. In fact, I would say VIP work is definitely going to be the best money opportunity of the event week. And yeah, Fortified, that's like a minimal 10-minute one. Velocity is another one similar to Fortified, where it lasts like a guaranteed like 10 minutes or something, at least solo. I think if you have like other people for Velocity, there might be like air checkpoints and stuff. So you might be able to reduce the velocity timer of 10 minutes if you have people in your organization. As for yourself, and yeah, for velocity, I recommend being on like the highway, starting by like the casino, and then ending at like the bridge at the like bottom of the map or whatever, and only use like a rocket boost whenever you need to. So that's kind of my strategy, is to just stay on the highways for velocity and don't use boost unless you absolutely like have to. And then Transporter, that's a pretty alright paying one. Whereas like Fortified Velocity does pay like $70,000. And Transport, I think it's like 30-minute cooldown as well, just like Fortified and Velocity. Cloud, which I've been shown in the gameplay, that's the one that requires like the Phantom Wedge or whatever. That one's like a $60,000 pay on double money. It's definitely one of the better paying modes. In addition to like Fortified and Velocity, it's that Cloud, that one at least can be done in under 10 minutes. And then for ones that require like other players and whatnot, I would say Ramped Up is actually a pretty good one. That one you're normally supposed to like ram motorcycles onto like rooftops. But because like the Oppressor and like Oppressor Mark II, kind of the Death Bike exists as well, you really do not need to use the like ram buggy to like ramp up motorcycles anymore, so that one's not that bad, I would say. And then piracy prevention can be alright as well if there's like other people outside of your like organization. However, again, like Fortified Velocity, piracy prevention lasts like a guaranteed like 10 minutes. And it all depends on like if other players are probably going to go after you or not. It all depends on like your session and whatnot, I would say. And yeah, for VIP challenges, some that I remember being pretty good are like salvage, market manipulation, point to point or whatever, the one where you choose like the destination. And then like most wanted, I think, is another one I didn't mention yet. Onto massive 80% off discounts on business renovations. There is 80% off of the stuff listed, and as well for the like biker like MC clubhouse. It doesn't mention this too, but the clubhouse murals and then like the furniture like option B, I believe, are on a massive 80% off discount. And for the most part, I would pass on those, especially like the fully cosmetic ones. Even the gun lockers I would kind of pass on, because there's a lot of different properties of gun lockers these days. If there's one I do definitely recommend between the like 8 like renovation things, though, it would probably be the gun runner like shooting range. Because if you complete a certain amount of like the shooting range like challenges or something, you actually get an increase in your like throwable like capacity. Like for example, normally you're supposed to have like 25 grenades and like 25 sticky bombs, and you can up those to like 30 if you get to a certain point on the like gun runner like shooting range. So that's kind of a worthwhile thing, at least with the shooting range. So at least that one I would recommend 80% off. Onto 3 times money in RP on stun races, one that Rockstar actually forgot to put in their like what's new section on the 9th generation version of the game here. So I had to go in the pause menu. But yeah, I believe solo for like 8 to 10 minutes I think is like the maximum payout, at least solo, and that's like $24,000 to like $25,000 for like 8 to 10 minutes. That's pretty terrible. And yeah, I would probably say this is the worst money opportunity of the entire event. Probably even worse, I would say, than the triple on like the salaries as like a bodyguard associate. Because at least with that, you can be in like free mode and you're helping other like people out and whatnot, which is kind of a good deed and whatnot. So this is probably the one I at least recommend here, quite frankly. And even when you're playing against other players, it's not really necessarily going to be all that worth it. Onto the prize ride for the week. It is actually the Shih Tzu Hakuchou drag here. And whether you are on the 8th generation or 9th generation systems and whatnot, it is definitely a very worthwhile vehicle here. But quite frankly, I feel that challenge is quite steep this time around. Top 3 in 5 pursuit races and whatever. But yeah, pursuit races, I feel the like minimal like player requirement is quite steep on those races, because you need at least 4 players, which for races is actually quite crazy. So in my opinion, that makes it kind of not really all that worth going for. Plus the Hakuchou drag itself is only like $800 to like $900,000 if I recall. So you could already do like a Kyle Pre-Geist for like 1 hour and easily obtain this whole vehicle, the regular vehicle, and probably even all the like customizations depending on like what like primary target and whatnot you get. And yeah, especially for the 9th generation version, this vehicle makes total sense because it does have a HSW conversion. And that's actually a while since I do use them like time trials all the time. It's a very worthwhile pickup. It's like the second top speed motorcycle, I think, behind the Reaver, but it is a forward leaning motorcycle. So if you do lean forward, you actually get the speed boost rather than most motorcycles where you have to lean backwards if you're doing like a wheelie. So it is a pretty unique motorcycle to drive. It's actually a very good driving experience compared to most motorcycles. Onto the regular and then the premium test rides for the week. There is the Cheval Typon, the Karen Futo GTX, and then the Vetero Coquet D10 for the regular test rides. And yeah, Cheval Typon, that's actually a pretty bad supercar, so I definitely do not recommend the Cheval Typon. And then Karen Futo GTX is one of those like tuner vehicles in the game, which means it could be kind of useful for like street races and like pursuit races and whatnot. But between all of the 12 like sport tuner vehicles in the game, it is actually the worst in terms of lap time, and then it's kind of average in terms of top speed, and that's only for like the sport cars in the tuner subclass. So even that one I kind of do not really recommend, especially considering last week had the Jester RR on discount, which is the #1 top speed sport tuner. And then in Vetero Coquet D10, that's a 3rd place on top speed for the sport class, which is pretty good. So if there's one vehicle between the bunch I do probably recommend, it would probably be the Coquet D10 if I were to be completely honest. And then going into the premium test ride, that is currently the Impante Arbiter GT, which is the one HSW muscle car currently in the game, which does kind of give it unique purpose, being the only muscle car so far with HSW. So for that reason alone, I do kind of recommend that one. Onto the podium vehicle this week, it's in this Deveste again. I could swear this is literally like the one time they've repeated the same exact like podium vehicle. But I think like the livery and stuff is different than the last time, so at least that's something. But yeah, it's a weaponizable vehicle. I'm not going to go too much detail in this time because yeah, it's the same as from last time. Onto the discounts for the event week. Aside for those like massive 80% off like business discounts, there is 30% off the mobile operations center and its upgrades and modifications. But yeah, mobile operations center, very armored vehicle, which is definitely quite nice. The weaponry is pretty decent even, but you can get the same weaponry but better basically on the Avenger. And then for vehicle advice, I would probably just say the hauler custom just because it's the more expensive one and it's very easy to make money in the game these days anyways. So I would definitely recommend the hauler over the Phantom custom. And then any sort of like upgrade modification, in my opinion, the one that's even worth it really is probably the personal vehicle storage. I do not recommend the vehicle like modification thing in the MOC anymore, since you can use that for personal vehicle storage to have that extra personal vehicle slot. So that's my one recommendation for sure on the upgrades modifications. And then the list of vehicle discounts on the bottom there. I'll be going over those. We have my Batsu pin number FF, and then the Dinka Sugoi for 40 and then 45% off. Those are definitely the two discounts I would least recommend. Because those sport vehicles there are not really that good. They're not good performance for lap time or top speed apparently. One I do highly recommend though would be the P-Fister 811, 45% off. Because that's actually the number one top speed supercar, excluding like the HSW like upgrades, which specialize in top speed. So it's still definitely within the top few, especially with HSW into account for that top speed on the 811. And then the P-Fister Comet SR is actually still a pretty alright like sport car. And Comet SR, I believe, is also a vehicle that's in a transform race as well. So getting that makes sure that you are guaranteed to do pretty well in one of the transform races if those ever become on a money opportunity anytime soon. And then there's one not listed there, and that is the P-Fister Comet Safari. And that is a 50% off discount as well. And it's basically... And that is basically a weaponized Comet, so being weaponized makes it more useful than the average vehicle, so I would highly recommend Comet Safari as well. So the only two like vehicle discounts I really would not recommend this time around would be the number FF and then the Dinka Sugoi. And then onto like the Preem race and the time trials and whatnot. Preem race this time around apparently is downtown on the ground or something like that for the supercar class. So again, have a little look at the like description for like roughly 152's like spreadsheet and whatnot. And yeah, the time trial is a regular time trial. I think it's very self-explanatory. It's not like a highway, so that one is pretty good for top speed. So again, I would look at the like description thing and like the spreadsheet and whatnot, and look at like the motorcycles because those are good time trial vehicles. RCP and Data time trial, unfortunately, you do gotta deal with like the randomness of like pedestrians and like the vehicles and whatnot. And then HSW time trial, again, very easy. I don't think that one really needs much explaining as long as you're using like drag and whatnot. But that's finally going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed.